Here's something most people get completely wrong about intelligence. Most people in the top 2% of IQ don't wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and think about how brilliant they are. They don't feel like geniuses. A lot of the time, they wake up feeling like aliens. We're taught a simple story, that if your mind is sharp enough, life gets easier. Teachers praise the gifted kid. Movies celebrate the prodigy who grows up to change the world. The message is always the same. Intelligence is power. Intelligence is winning the lottery you were born into. But modern psychology tells a far more complicated story, because for a lot of highly intelligent people, their mind doesn't always feel like a gift. Sometimes it feels like a cage, a powerful engine that never really shuts off, constantly analyzing, replaying, predicting, and questioning the meaning behind everything. So today, let's talk about what's really happening inside the extremely intelligent mind, the hidden weight of it, the loneliness of it, and why the smartest person in the room is so often the one who feels the most alone. Let's start with the myth. In psychology, an IQ around 130 or above is usually described as gifted. These are people who tend to process information faster, grasp abstract ideas more easily, and see connections other people miss. On the surface, that sounds like nothing but an advantage. But here's the twist. Intelligence doesn't just make someone better at solving problems. It reshapes the entire way their mind meets the world. A highly intelligent person doesn't only see solutions faster, they also see more complexity, more contradictions, and more possible outcomes in almost every situation. While others move through life on fairly simple storylines, the gifted mind often senses layers of uncertainty underneath everything. And that's where the myth starts to crack, because a sharper mind doesn't automatically deliver happiness, confidence, or peace. Often, it hands you a whole new set of challenges most people never have to face. One of those challenges is what researchers call a high need for cognition. That's a deep, almost biological drive to think, analyze, and mentally chew on complex ideas. For the average mind, thinking is a tool you pick up when you need it. For the highly intelligent mind, thinking becomes a constant state of being. Psychologists sometimes describe it as an internal motor, an engine that keeps running long after the outside world has gone quiet. Most people finish a conversation and move on. The high IQ mind keeps replaying it, analyzing the tone, the hidden meaning, the possible misunderstandings, until a single moment has been examined from 10 different angles. Picture lying in bed late at night. The house is silent. Nothing needs your attention. For a lot of people, that's when the mind finally relaxes. But for someone with a highly active brain, that's often when the motor gets loudest. One thought leads to another, then another, until the mind is running several threads of analysis at once. Over time, that can turn into chronic overthinking. These minds naturally simulate the future, spotting risks, flaws, and outcomes others would never think of. That's useful for problem solving, but it has a cost. When your brain sees too many possibilities, action gets harder. Psychologists call this analysis paralysis, when you're so aware of every possible outcome that making a simple decision feels overwhelming. The same mind capable of remarkable insight can trap itself in endless loops of doubt and prediction. Then there's what we might call the curse of awareness. Intelligence sharpens your ability to spot patterns, inconsistencies, and hidden motives. Where others see events in simple terms, the high IQ mind notices the layers underneath, the contradictions in social systems, the unspoken power dynamics in a conversation. At first, that feels like insight, but over time, seeing so clearly gets heavy. The more sharply you notice the flaws in the world, the hypocrisy in institutions, the irrational behavior in groups, the harder it becomes to look away. Most people naturally filter that stuff out just to move through the day comfortably. The deeply analytical mind often can't. And that can slowly curdle into cynicism or a quiet frustration. because intelligence strips away a layer of comforting illusion. You start to see how many systems are imperfect and how many outcomes are shaped by forces no one really controls. Awareness becomes a double-edged sword. It gives you clarity, but it also makes you carry more of reality than the average person ever has to. And here's something people rarely connect to intelligence: emotion. For a long time, we imagined the brilliant mind as cold and purely logical. But a Polish psychologist named Kazimierz Dabrowski noticed something surprising after decades of studying gifted people. They didn't just think more intensely, they felt the world more intensely too. Dabrowski described what he called overexcitabilities, a heightened sensitivity of the nervous system where certain people respond to everything with far greater intensity. Think of it as a psychological volume dial turned way up. He noticed it showing up in 5 ways. Intellectual, that relentless hunger to understand. Emotional, where empathy and sadness and outrage can feel overwhelming. Imaginational, a vivid inner world of daydreams and vivid scenarios. Sensory, where lights feel too bright and noise feels too loud. And psychomotor, a surplus of restless mental and physical energy. When those combine, life comes in at full volume. Beauty can feel breathtaking, but conflict, suffering, and injustice can feel almost unbearable. For many gifted people, the real challenge isn't managing their thoughts. It's living in a world they experience at maximum intensity. That intensity often shows up as another pattern: perfectionism. At first it looks like a strength, the drive for excellence, but for a lot of gifted minds, it quietly becomes a trap. Because they can picture the ideal outcome with incredible clarity, the flawless project, the life that matches their full potential, and reality almost never lines up with that vision. So what other people would call a success can feel, to them, like a disappointing compromise. Over time, that gap feeds something psychologists call gifted burnout. The person once praised as exceptional starts to feel crushed by expectations, both other people's and their own. The fear of wasting their potential becomes a constant, low hum of anxiety. And here's the cruel irony. The same intelligence that lets them imagine extraordinary possibilities also makes them painfully aware of every perceived failure. The burden isn't a lack of ability. It's the feeling that they should always be doing more, achieving more, becoming more. But maybe the most painful part isn't intellectual at all, it's social. Psychologists have long noticed something you could call the communication gap. When two people think at a similar level of complexity, conversation flows, ideas build on each other, humor lands, and you both feel where it's going. But when the gap in thinking styles gets too wide, conversations start to feel strangely misaligned. Highly intelligent people often crave conversations that dig into real questions: psychology, philosophy, science, the hidden patterns behind why people do what they do. But most everyday social life runs on something very different: small talk. The weather, the gossip, the shows everyone's watching. For a mind that constantly reaches for depth, that can feel surprisingly draining. So many learn a quiet survival strategy. They mask, they simplify their language, avoid the topics that light them up, and hold back the ideas that might seem too intense or too strange. Masking helps them blend in, but it comes at a price. When you constantly hide the way you naturally think, a quiet loneliness sets in. You can be surrounded by friends, family, and co-workers, and still feel like no one truly gets how your mind works. And that connects to something psychologists call existential depression. This isn't the kind that comes from a specific loss or stressful event. It grows out of the big questions about existence itself. The fragility of life, the certainty of death, the sheer scale of the universe, the unsettling possibility that life might not come with a clear, built-in meaning. Highly intelligent minds tend to run into these questions earlier and more intensely. because their thinking naturally drifts toward the abstract. Why do we suffer? What actually matters in the end? Those can become permanent mental companions. And when you're that aware of life's biggest uncertainties, the ordinary routines, paying bills, small daily rituals, can suddenly feel strangely hollow. The deeper you think about life, the harder it can sometimes be to feel fully at home inside it. So where does all of this leave the highly intelligent mind? Is a powerful, restless brain just a lifelong burden? Not at all, because the real problem was never the intelligence itself. Far more often, the problem is isolation. When gifted people spend too long feeling misunderstood and out of sync with everyone around them, the mind turns inward in unhealthy ways. But everything shifts when they find their people, their intellectual tribe, the ones who think deeply, ask the hard questions, and love chasing ideas with the same intensity. In the presence of minds on a similar wavelength, what felt like alienation slowly turns into connection. And intelligence finally becomes what it was always meant to be. Not a cage, but a tool for curiosity, for creativity, for building something meaningful. So if any part of this felt a little too familiar, if you've spent your life feeling like your mind runs on a different frequency than the world around you, please hear this. You were never broken. You were just never meant to carry that mind completely alone. If this resonated with you, stay with us here at Deep Ravines Psychology Lab, where we keep exploring the deeper, quieter truths of how the human mind really works. Next time, we'll look at why some of the most sensitive people are also the strongest, and how the traits you were told to hide might be your greatest advantage. Until then, take care of your mind.